Hey there, good afternoon. It's November 7th, Friday afternoon. Um, yeah, that's the time it is. I was thinking today about you know, how I have always tried to make it like, I've always been independent, so I'm not the kind of person that is easily impressed with, most individuals. And this includes celebrities and politicians. So, I know I got the intuitive message that in the beginning, some of the people within this social group that was, a part of my past, the people that I used to know, okay, they were, a part of this church group that allowed them to have access to like, political people or celebrities, okay, and so how can I say this? I get the feeling that this particular group that was trafficking me. Now, see, mind you, I didn't realize I was trafficked. I really didn't. I never realized. Like when I applied for the job at Murray Family Farms and all the jobs I've ever had, right? I literally thought that I, applied for the job, took the test, and ended up getting the job. And when I did get the job at Murray Family Farms, it was noted that I was the only one who passed the test. So, I always believe, seriously, I really seriously believe that I was receiving these jobs on my own merit, right? Because, I didn't realize that the religious issue was infiltrating the workplace in the way that it does, right? So, and then I started to realize that my work was being manipulated because I became aware of the gang stalking. But really, how it's supposed to work is you're supposed to be able to find a job independently. Okay, seriously, without networks around the arrangement. And I know, like people are very used to these sort of arrangements. But when you think about how the law is written, these things are illegal. And there's nothing wrong with people arranging a job for you. It's just that many people arrange jobs based on stipulations that is too subjugated for the person who is actually being employed. Like I gave the example of like maybe a husband may have helped his wife. Okay, look, his wife was a college student and they ended up getting married, right? And she never worked before, but now that they're married, she could help contribute to the family. So he helps get her a job at maybe like a law office. So her first job is incredible because he has a great network. He knows the right people. So she gets in that job. So like 5 years later, they end up getting divorced. See, and see, when she applied for that job, she signed a job application, right? And then if she had any new hire paperwork, then that solidifies the agreement between her and the employer. Okay, where is his name on this list? Where does it belong? It doesn't belong anywhere. Okay, but he provides a simple reference. This is why when it comes to employment law, when marriage is a protected issue, okay, because they're aware that people do this sort of stuff. Okay, when you notice a lot of times when because of these sort of Christian influences, you'll notice that sometimes maybe a woman might start off with a good position, and then if she ends a relationship, she ends up with nothing or something that's way less than what she started with. Okay, so when you are in a network or somebody supporting you in your career, okay, the person who's supporting you should possibly be in a position where they're comfortable in life. And the reason why I say this is because a reference is somebody who is helping this person get one step, okay, or whatever, or make their way, okay? And that's all they are. When you think of it, it's like, and a lot of people are very selfish and they want to always create some sort of tie, whether that be marriage, some sort of forced arrangement, manipulation, when in fact, employment is not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be a straight agreement between you and the employer. So we have all of this drama that goes on. And like I said, I was in this social group that insisted on, me being wrong. Even when I was presenting them, this is what traumatized me so much, and I am traumatized to this very day. It's like somebody, coming up, reaching to up to you and knowing that they might rape you or they might kill you or whatever, and you're like, please stop it, but they just come out and attack you anyway. Okay, and the reason why is because this group, and I remember growing up, not growing up, but being around like people like Bruce. Okay, I remember sometimes he would be a little bit too rough, like the way he was playing. And I remember one time his mom interrupted him because I kept telling him to knock it off, and he wouldn't knock it off. Okay, and some people, they always think it's a game. It's always a game. This is one of the reasons why some employee handbooks talk about things like hazing. Why? Because it can get out of control. While this person is telling these people to knock it off, they're like, "Ooh, we're gonna win, we're gonna win, we're gonna win." and they end up doing something very animalistic, such as what these people have been doing. Okay, so I deserve compensation because people ignored the law. Okay, and these people in these positions, I can understand. I mean, I can't really understand because I can't really excuse this sort of behavior. But when it comes to people like Bruce or like Rashawn or somebody who's never held a position of maybe hiring people or whatever, or but these people who are sitting here trying to one up me like, oh, I'm so much better than you because I have a bachelor's degree and all this other stuff. Let me tell you something. You made a big mistake. Okay, the intuitive message I'm getting is that um, okay. I want to go back to the clout thing. The clout thing. Okay, the clout thing is that I've never been somebody who uses people for clout. Now, this particular group, within this group, there was a lot of bullying, right? And there was a lot of assumptions. Like they assume that I knew that they were the ones who were manipulating this? No. Okay, not at the beginning. Like I said, I thought that I filled out the application, I had this agreement with the employer, and there you go. Okay. But these people were in agreement with like Steve Murray and all this other stuff. Okay. So they were manipulating my employment. Okay, and so from this point on, they felt as though they were entitled to decide what I did with this job and this job and this job and this job. And this is where the workplace violations come. I will tell you, a lot of people have made this customary. We have a lot of religious people who do this sort of stuff, but this is not the way it's supposed to be. It's not the way it's supposed to be, you know? And so, I was thinking, okay, about this, going back to this clout thing, okay? So maybe these people assumed that I knew that I was, King Solomon, because I didn't. I only found this out in 2023. And I already remember reading a few years ago about cloning, about, clones. I remember reading about clones many years ago, okay? And so I put the two and two together, that clones are, stars. They're like people who are celebrities. They're people who are in, the public eye, okay? And so I know that remember I talked about in one of my newsletters about how I was in communication with Elon Musk, and I had this question mark: is this Elon Musk or something? And so now I do not communicate with this person at all. Okay, but I was saying is that I do believe that these people may have either impersonated Elon Musk and other celebrities, because I remember talking to other celebrities, or I was actually talking to Elon Musk, right? So, when I reached out or mentioned him a couple of days ago, I was not in any way clout chasing. But if he is a part of my network, okay, and since I do have ideas, what is wrong with sitting here and acknowledging it? There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay. So I understand in this situation, like these people were, knowing all of these people. They knew the celebrities, they knew the politicians, they knew all of these people. Okay. And I only knew them like seeing them on TV, but maybe, in my past life, I knew who these people were. Okay. But in this current particular life, I only knew of them, not really like, communicating or anything like that. So, why I'm talking about my soul tribe is because I understand that this is what makes us special. This is what makes us, this is how we came to be, through incubators, through the whole, like, years and years, the whole issue of cloning. Okay. I fully understand that. Now, when it comes to this whole Vladimir Putin thing, I just recently got downloads, and then I started realizing that he was some part of a connection. And I know who his past life is and all this other stuff. And now I did realize that he was floating around, and I'm acknowledging it. If he's in somewhere how floating around in my energy or whatever, then I'm acknowledging it. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? But I am not the kind of person, and I think most people understand this. One of the reasons why I'm in the situation that I'm in, right? I'm a single woman, right? Is because I'm not a clout chaser. If I was a clout chaser, you best believe that I would be sitting here like trying to hook up with any of these celebrities. I would be basically like bowing down, worshiping these people, begging them to marry me so that I can have them provide for me, right? I never did that. Okay, number one, I'm concerned about my safety. Okay, and I will tell you the heartfelt truth. Okay, I know what it's like to be exploited. I don't have the heart to hurt somebody like that. I don't have the heart to hurt somebody like that. Okay, and I understand like this, that's very common, and I understand there's nothing wrong with people wanting to get married for their financial security. When you think about it, I guess that's really what it's about. When you think about it, okay, a part of it, okay. I do believe in compatibility, all right, but at the same time, I I could not. Okay, I would be grossed out if I had to be with somebody just for the money. Okay, and I don't want to be seen with somebody just for the money. I don't want that. I feel like that's compromising my personal belief, and I wouldn't do it. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that people look at this as a selfish attitude. It's not a selfish attitude. Okay, I have every right to feel like I want to be protected. Now, let's just say, for example, and I do think, I think Vladimir Putin is very good looking, right? But, I'm not somebody who do I want to use Vladimir Putin for his stuff? I mean, I feel very grateful that he's somebody who, if he's trying to help and support me, then that's good, okay? But see, here's the thing. Me as a targeted individual, I know good and well what it's like for people to exploit and to people who try to steal from me, from people who try to, this. And so I figure he must have had his fair share of people abusing him. So I don't want to be that person. Okay, I could never inflict the kind of bullshit that people have inflicted on me. I couldn't, you know why? Because I view what these people did as cruel and unethical. It's not in me to do this. Okay, so I am not that kind of person. Aside from that, these people, this particular group that I was associated with, including Rashawn, Bruce, Bruce's father, all these other people who were involved in me. These are the same kind of people who are always doing things to undermine me. Okay, and I understand their slights. Okay, I understand. To me, every sort of apology or some sort of like what do you call it? Remedy to the situation or compensation. Like I said, it always has some sort of slight to it. Always has some sort of slight to it, some form of disrespect to it, right? Because I will tell you, these people will never, ever, and never have had any concern for me. Their interest in me was primarily just to use me. So therefore, I don't give two shits about these people. Okay. Now, when it comes to me, like being able to produce my products, my projects, or whatever, why shouldn't I team up with someone like Vladimir Putin? Why? Because I feel like we're on the same level. Okay, it makes like it makes sense that we're on the same. Now, I'm not saying I'm in the same class as Vladimir Putin, and by any means, okay, because obviously I live in a shithole apartment. Okay, but I'm saying is that I understand what it's like to be one of these people, these clones. I understand what it's like to have to deal with irrational people. I understand what it's like to be set up and being mistreated. I understand the whole 9 yards. Okay, so with that being said, it makes sense. It makes logical sense that if this person really is in my sphere, if this person really is in my circle, then yes, I would want to assist this person and have this, if he's offering me some sort of assistance, then I want to do the best job I possibly can and support this person in the best way I possibly can. Okay, because I really do consider this person my friend, possibly from a past life, even though we're from different races, different whatever. What it is that sometimes people have soul connections that go beyond that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like I could see him beyond what he is. I know it's strange, okay, and a lot of humans don't understand it, but like I said, some people do things for certain reasons, and I understand that, and something about it just gets to me. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that the authorities have been, the criminals, the criminal ring, something about that, were trying to attack me because they thought that I lived too much of a luxurious life. Mind you, I live in an apartment, okay? I think they were also criticizing the fact that I, eat things like fruit and stuff like that. Like I said, I do maintain my health through what I eat. I do not participate in the medical system at all. Okay. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is whatever you want, you get, of course. So these people wanted to test me. See, this is what I'm saying. I will never want to have a friendship with somebody who would treat me in that manner, to trivialize my life and act like, I'm going to deprive this person of things. I'm going to wreck this person's life. And they already knew. They already knew. Okay. I don't appreciate it. And no, I will never be your friend, ever. Okay, and people, I hope this, for people who are wanting to improve their lives, okay, people, and very few people really seem like they want to make an effort to live a decent life, okay, but for those who do, you need to understand that this is a very common mentality of people, even people in your own family. Okay, so you need to wake up and be more proactive when it comes to setting boundaries for yourself. Okay, and yes, you have the legal right to set boundaries. My point is, the laws in this country are just absolutely remarkable. They are absolutely. It's like almost like it covers everything. Okay, but like I said, we have a lot of corruption because people do not ever want to focus on the law that's secular. They get sucked into these illegal programs that make it so that they're going to side with the church or their little made up cult. Okay. So, I know there's some targeted individuals that are targeted individuals. Like maybe there's got to be targeted individuals that are lawyers. Okay. For these people who may be getting stepped on by Christian organizations, here's your chance to start standing out and talking your truth and helping people who really do need to cut through the legal system and get the justice that they need. Like I know that there are certain people, physicians that are targeted individuals. These people need to step out and create something new so that you guys can help build a new world order. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is whatever you want, you get. See, and that's what I'm saying. It's just these people have this attitude where they want to challenge me. I never asked to be challenged. But see, what brought the attention of even my existence is the church. The church was talking about me before I even realized who I was. Okay, and so people were acknowledging me because of the church. They were noticing the things that I did, and then they were talking about it, and then they started this sort of frenzy. Okay, and it's wrong. Okay, and I do not, I instantly lose respect for people who try me. Why? Because what went on in my life, I've struggled a lot in my life. Okay, just because of my intelligence, just because of who I am. Okay, and I honestly will tell you, I'm not ashamed of who I am, because the reason why people want to constantly compete with me is because they know that I hold the standard. I am the blueprint. Okay, and they know it. Okay, I see all kinds of via videos and talks about me on the YouTube, talking about how I'm so authentic, blah 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 blah. People want to copy me, blah 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 blah. No, they're never going to say this into my face, okay? But they'll do little side things, right? Just like Bruce's family and the so-called group that tries to help me out. I find it very insulting that Alyssa's going to only offer me $1,000, okay? And there's always some sort of stupid justification. Oh, it's about weed. Oh, she gets a wardrobe. Oh, it's this, it's that. It's like, no, tick for tack, okay? Just like, the term eye for an eye, that applies across the board in many things. Okay, that means if you break somebody's windshield, you repair their windshield. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is whatever it is you want, you get. Okay? This is what I'm saying. The buck needs to stop here. Like, it needs to knock it off. Okay? I mean, I show people the common decency and the respect, and I expect that in return. Okay? But see, here's the thing. Do not touch things that do not belong to you. That's the bare minimum thing. I was going to do a video earlier today. I was thinking about things like the Ten Commandments. Like I think it was in Oklahoma. They wanted the Ten Commandments to play a prominent role within their community, or the state, or whatever. And there's always this issue about the Ten Commandments, versus they act like the secular law is something foreign to them. They think if talking about the Ten Commandments is just going to corral everybody into being decent people. I will say though, the Ten Commandments is a decent foundation to start with, okay? And I know the Ten Commandments does say no stealing. Let's now that we're doing this, I think I'm going to go ahead and review the Ten Commandments really quick, just because. Okay, we're going to do that. Hang on a second. All right. Okay, the Ten Commandments, also known as are a set of biblical principles. I know that, but I want to go individual with them, the list of the Ten Commandments. Okay. And see, why I'm bringing this up is because I understand that we dealt with these so-called Christians, right? And so the Christians will sit there and defend things like the Ten Commandments, or they'll pretend to, but then they'll sit there and they're ignorant of employment laws, business laws, civic laws, whatever. But at the same time, even though they might mention the Ten Commandments, they have no interest in really following them themselves. Okay, so we have number 1, you shall have no other gods before me. I would say most Christians actually serve the demiurge. Okay, when you really think about it, they do serve the demiurge. Okay, and this shows in the way that they act. Okay, and I do believe that Christianity and true spirituality have always had this sort of fight that has gone on in the earth. And I see this story revealed in the Bible, okay? But they shall have no other gods before me. Okay, whatever. You should make no idols. That's pretty simple. You should not take the name of your Lord, your God, in vain. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, some people believe in keeping the Sabbath day. I understand that that is something that is completely debated within different Christian denominations as to when that day is. Okay, we have Seventh-day Adventists that, swear up and down that that's Saturday, and then we have some more, I would say, mainstream Christianity that insists that that is a Sunday. However you view the Sabbath day, okay, some people think that you observe it. Meanwhile, I've seen several Christians who work on Sundays as well as Saturdays, okay, regardless of what their thing is, okay? Also, here's the 5th one. Honor your mother and your father, okay? Like I said, I've seen a lot of people be very disrespectful to their parents. And then you know what? I've seen a lot of parents who earned their disrespect because they do stuff that really they shouldn't do. Okay, so here we go. Number 6, you shall not murder. Okay, I would say that's true. You shouldn't go around shooting people, stabbing people. But here's another thing. In this particular group, we have a Christian organization that works underground crime scenes to cause murder. This is one of the reasons why we have the BPD who refused to take my thing. Now, mind you, I wasn't calling because my life was threatened, okay? But you know what? Something tells me that if my life was, he wouldn't have lifted a finger, okay? We also have people in social services who want to cut people off of things like food stamps, okay? Some of these people are in desperate situations, or perhaps maybe they are just doing this so that they can try to deprive me of something just because they want to have something won over on me, because everybody in that office is crooked. Regardless of this, they are denying me a service. And why would they do something like that? To cut off something like essential as food, because they are interested in murder. They're breaking a commandment. The other one is, yeah, you shall not commit adultery. Now, adultery is simply cheating on your spouse. That means cheating on your spouse and say, or breaking that marriage bond. Okay. Now, in the state of California, what constitutes a marriage? A marriage is a consensual agreement between two individuals. That means I don't have an agreement with an individual. That means, I'm not married. I'm not married. Okay, so now we have now to these particular people, they look at marriage. They have a different definition of marriage. So this falls under the category of their religion. So if like for example, a man looks at a woman who he sees applying for a job, and he just decides to want to be her kingdom spouse because she's got great job experience, and somehow he's going to depend on her financially. That's his definition of marriage, and he wants to sit here and like maybe stalk her and everything else, and then she is not permitted to have a life or go out on her own because he's already claimed her. See, and the thing is that that's not committing adultery if she wants to get away from him, because she never agreed to a relationship with him in the first place. Okay, the next one is this is number 8. Okay, you shall not steal. Okay, but that's a good one. See, if this in this situation, people have clearly failed to follow their own commandments. Okay, I will say here when it comes to all the ones from number 1 through 5, okay, there really are no laws specifically for those, okay, legally, laws like that relate to secular law. When it comes to honoring your mother and father, they do have things like family law, things that can specifically resolve like issues relating to abuse and stuff like that that people could make use of, okay? But like I said, when it comes to parents, parents should be leaders. They should be able to direct their children into the right direction. And like I said, there's a lot of people. This is proof, okay? If this was kind of stuff goes on in communities throughout the world, parents are basically just cranking out offspring just for the sake of cranking out offspring. They don't have any sort of guidance or anything to offer these offspring. Okay, so a lot of people are producing for no apparent reason other just for the sake of doing it. Maybe they're doing it for welfare benefits or whatever, just to get by. But the end result shows it. Okay, so let's go back to number 8. Okay, so the you shall not steal. I've been stolen from several times by a bunch of deranged Christians, whether that be something small like, my YouTube channel. Did they create that YouTube channel? No, they did not. Let's break down. I'm feeling very, very sarcastic right now, but let's just break down the definition of stealing, okay? Let's just do that. Okay, number 1, the first definition would be to take the property of another person without right or permission. Number 2, to present or use someone else's words, ideas as their own. Number 3, to get or take secretly or artfully. So yes, I would say that these particular Christians broke their own rules. And this includes any of the other religions that jumped in on board with it, okay? So these people steal. They steal, okay? They either steal your work, steal your job opportunities, anything that does not belong to you, my property, my assets, my creations, whether they are tangible or they're invisible or whatever, these people steal, okay? So they just broke another commandment. Okay, so here we go. Number 9, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Isn't that a great one? Do you know how many people slandered my name? You know how many people slandered my name, talking about who I'm sleeping with, what kind of problems I have, blah 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 blah, and now they come to find out they it's none of it's true. See what I'm saying is, so where are all these Christian people, the Mary Landucci's, Alitas, where are all these people? Because it's a lie. The last one is number 10, you shall not covet. That means that you should not sit here and go around desiring things to the point of where you're going to become an animalistic fiend. Okay, now in this case, I do believe people were coveting my lifestyle. the people were jealous. Like Terry was jealous. So she was sitting here creating all kinds of blocks, inconveniences for me, getting, doing things to prevent me from living my life. Why? Because she covets the things that I have. Whether that be my earning power, maybe it's my intelligence, maybe it's my work, maybe it's whatever. She covets that. She desires it so much that she wants it for herself, or she wants to interject herself in it. Okay, whatever the case is, that's all the 10 commandments, and we can obviously see that all these people are nothing but liars. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is the attitude is whatever you want, you get, of course. See, what I am trying to bring to the issue is that obviously I'm right, okay, and obviously these people are hypocrites, okay, and I don't want to hear it anymore. So when it comes to these people, coming into my life, we're saying that they're sorry and everything like that. No, they're not. Okay, so this is why I look at people and I judge them correctly. So like I get the intuitive message that there's some of these people who are acting like they're sorry. Some of these people think, oh, I made a mistake. I misjudged Maria. I'm sorry, and they want to get back in my energy. Now you know why I don't want anything to do with you. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that people crave my validation, and they know that or they look at me as the authority on things. Okay, why does that come as a surprise to these people? I know they downgraded me as when I was younger, but everybody knew that I was CB Braganza, and CB Braganza had quite a reputation. Okay, so these people saw what they wanted to see. Okay, that's all they wanted to do. So when it comes to me, getting compensation, okay, now I will say, let's see, okay, there is actual laws that relate and address issues relating to murder in law. Okay, so obviously they take in things to consideration as like, is it intentional? Was it something that was spontaneous? It depends on the degrees of murder. And see, this is what I want to talk about, because some things are premeditated. Some things are premeditated. Like, I personally think that Terry Collins should go to jail if she's not dead already. She should go to jail for premeditated murder. Why? Because she already knew it. She had all the time in the world to go and turn back and change her mind, but she didn't. Okay? But luckily, I'm not dead. But I'm saying is, but if I ended up dead in this situation, then I would say, yeah, she should get. Why? Because you're trying to close off the emergency systems. You prevent me from having a job. You cut off my social services. You try to get power of attorney over me, and you're trying to manipulate stuff. You can actually work things behind the scenes that could actually end up killing me, and then make it so that people in the community can cover up for you. This is why it should have never been a covert issue. And yes, I want Terry Collins arrested for murder. The intuitive message, or attempted murder. Okay? So if my son's able to do that, he needs to take her to court and do that. Upon everything else, I want compensation for. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I am a role model and a great leader. Okay, so the other issue when it comes to you shall not commit adultery. Now, there are some states, okay, but I do not believe California is a state that enforces things like adultery. Okay, there might be some states that do. Okay, and it probably has something to do with how they deal with it. It probably relates to maybe the splitting up of property, or what a spouse could be entitled to once people discover that another person has committed adultery. Here in California, there really is no penalty, but that could be a determining factor in your divorce settlement, if that was the case. Like if you guys split your house and your finances, and maybe they might look at you because you went outside of your marriage, that might be some sort of extra penalty to where maybe you might get less or whatever. I don't know, okay? Because I never had any assets to split when I was married. I was just a regular person. Aside from that, when it comes to adultery and all that other stuff, most of the time, people handle that through a divorce lawyer, okay? And the only kind of penalty that some people might get is they might have some sort of social penalty. Some people might roll their eyes if they look at the adulterer. They might whisper about that person. Some people might ostracize that person. But as far as like a major penalty to where a person ends up in jail, like in California, that is very unlikely to happen. Okay, so now we have the the 8, the you shall not steal. It depends on how much you steal and what you steal, the value, the price value of what you steal. And then also, when I did report to the sheriff or the police department, they were asking specifically, like, there is a difference between, burglary and theft or whatever. And a lot of it has to do with, the perimeters. Do they come into the perimeter of your home? And see, I wasn't really clear on, does an outside gate include that, like if they jump over the fence, is that considered a perimeter of your home, or do they have to actually be inside? Okay, that's very specific. Okay, but still, whatever the thing is, if it's not yours, you're not supposed to take it. Okay, but yet we have Christians that just cannot stop stealing. They cannot. They can't control themselves. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what, Christians to me are the most lowest level people in the world. When it comes to bearing false witness against your neighbor, there are ways that you can get legal assistance or some sort of compensation for that. Just like, the dude that thought it was appropriate to roll his eyes at me, or the people who want to deny me services based on lies that people like Alita told, or Steve Murray told, or Stupid Terry told, or whatever. Because of things, people being affected socially by being rumors or stuff like that. Yes, you can get sued for libel. You can get sued for slander. Okay, and yes, yeah, that's a legal issue. And when it comes to comparing this to like things like the Ten Commandments, if these people, this is what I'm telling you, this group was nothing but a cult. Nothing but a cult, a lying sack of shit cult is what they were. Okay, so yes, that the reason why you're not supposed to bear false witness against your neighbor is because you cause these people hardships. But see, this particular cult group was willing to do it. Right? See, this is why I'm telling you, Christians are mentally ill. Okay, so, and the last one, do not covet. You shall not covet. Like I said, when people get envious, it makes them do monstrous things. Okay, it makes them lie. It makes them cheat. It makes them compete, do unnecessary stuff. So this is one of the reasons why I talk about women, or men for that reason, why it's important to take care of yourself, why you should be content with yourself, because if you're not content with yourself, you're going to be constantly comparing yourself to somebody else. Okay, this is why I talk about that. Okay, I don't sit here and covet. I don't sit here and like try to be like somebody else or whatever. I accept myself for the way that I am. Now I know when I was younger, of course, I would have preferred to look like Halle Berry or whatever, but that's life. Okay, I am what I am. Okay, and and even when it comes to rich people, I understand that there's some sort of something that I may not want to do in order to be in a situation like that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and compromise my principles just so I can get a lot of money. So I understand. I'm a very, I understand what truly makes me feel comfortable. So when it comes to this group of people, I'm absolutely disgusted with them. So we know that they're full of shit. You know what I mean? So anyway, I went on with the Ten Commandments. I was going to make it a more formal video about comparing Ten Commandments against the secular laws, okay? But whatever the case is, people need to know how to act, and they don't. Okay, and so this is one of the reasons why, and because people were trying to threaten my life, they were attempting murder, and I expect if Terry Collins is alive, I want her to pay the price for it, whether with her life or my son take her to court. Period. Okay. So yes, I do deserve compensation, and not half-ass compensation. And I always know that as long as I'm going to deal with these people, I'm always going to deal with their slights, and I'm not going to deal with it. So expect me to turn back. If somebody says something rude, I'm going to say it, and I'm not trying to invoke a competition. Okay, these people are deranged. They have affected my life, and they sit there and they try to play games all the time. Okay, I do not find it, like Alyssa. I find her to be very rude and disgusting to me, right? Because you're going to sit here and offer me, she shouldn't have done it in the first place. The intuitive message I'm getting about Alyssa is what I want, I get. See, she's sitting here trying me. Do not communicate with me, Alyssa. Okay? If you can't pay the bill or retract it on your own, do not bother me. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is because I'm being recognized as a royal and angelic. And see, like I said, once I prove myself, then they get upset. And then they think that you're constantly playing a game. Okay, right now, I need it to be understood. Knock your game playing off. And all across the board. Okay? Because you've already dug me into a hole and I'm tired of it. And then you're slow to get me out. And then you're going to sit here and send me stupid emails like, we're willing to pay $1,000. No, bitch, you need to pay all of it. Okay? You need to pay all of it. You are a part of a criminal ring, Alyssa. Okay? And yes, I will call out names. I'm tired of these people. I'm sick of these people. They are criminal to the core. Okay? So anyway, yeah, people do believe that I have good political beliefs. I do. You know what I mean? And I am somebody who's very low key. I would have never preferred not to have dealt with this in the first place. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that, oh yeah, CB Berganza, okay, I'm glad. People fully understand I mean what I say. Okay, like, and I know people want to find like holes in my thing about me saying I don't want any relationships or whatever, but I'm more interested. Of course I'm interested in Vladimir Putin. You know why? Because he's walked a very similar life than that I have. You know what I mean? I'm sure he understands those sort of things. Aside from that, you know what I mean? It's like I feel as though we have that issue in common now. And I don't know him personally, not in this life, but I do know that I knew him in my last life. Okay. Um, I'm glad you guys are still doing your past life readings. I'm talking to my soul tribe. And so, yeah, when it comes to clout, like, I recently called out, I mentioned Elon Musk, like, I'm not trying to ride on anybody's coattails. I'm not someone like that. But if he is still around and he was willing to talk to me, then I would talk to him. Something about the criminal. He may have been associated with the people that I knew. Okay, he must have been associated with the people I knew. And no, I'm not interested in relationship, like a romantic relationship with Elon Musk or anything like that. But I understand that this particular group, they attach themselves, okay, and they've caused me a lot of problems. They've caused me a lot of problems, problems like that should have never happened. And I'm hoping that this will never happen to anyone else again. Indulge in a shift of realities. Okay, he's talking something about my father's apparition and me being observed from okay, my son and okay, the Mason temple and all this stuff. So yeah, I don't use people. Okay, I don't use people. Okay, and I know when I talk about people look at me as holy, and I pretty much have been. This is why I am the savior, or not the savior, but yeah, I'm the savior. But you know what I mean? Like I'm the chosen one. I'm somebody who has higher standards. I am somebody who is very special. And this is what the Masons knew for a long time. Okay, so anyway, my son is very happy right now. And I know that, when it comes to, me looking for work and stuff, I do find it very frustrating, the whole issue of this kingdom spouse stuff and people, doing bad things and manipulative stuff. And I think this is the biggest issue when it comes, and the biggest disappointment. You know what I mean? Because as adults, I would say that the Christian faith has done nothing but ruin the lives of many people, including mine. Okay, and I'm not even a part. I'm not even on their membership or anything like this. Okay, it's just a result of me being a clone. Okay, me being a clone, and then them creating problems for me, and then me being just being associated or was being forced to associate with these people. Okay, when it comes to Terry Collins, okay, and I hope my son watches this video because we will not talk about this together. Okay, my son needs to understand and be alert to what he sees about this sort of bullshit competition. I mean, compensation that people give. Notice the injustice in these little compensations that people give. Okay, it's always like a little slight in it, or this insincere little tone to it. Like I'm offended by what Alyssa sent to me. You know why? Because she's sitting here offering me something that is not the equivalent of what she took. Like I said, match for match, an eye for an eye. If you destroy somebody's, fireplace, like, some people have those beautiful fireplaces. If you ruin their fireplace, you got to pay for the fireplace. Okay. And it doesn't matter whether this person smokes weed, or maybe they're married to someone you don't like, or maybe they like something that you don't like, or they have a different lifestyle or whatever. It is eye for an eye. You match for match. You compensate people accordingly. Okay. And this is why I'm saying, I have always known that Christians were immoral. They are immoral to the core. Okay. So, and so I believe, because I am somebody who does not put out negative energy. I don't put it out. Now, you know why the negative energy was directed towards me? Because of the church. Okay. And then I will say this particular group that got in with all these people and encouraged all of this hate crime. Okay. I want Terry charged with a hate crime. I want her charged with, the breakdown of what constitutes the human trafficking. I want her to pay for what she did, as well as her husband and everybody else. I am not satisfied. The more that more you give me this bullshit compensation, the more angry I get. The more angry I get. Okay? Because I'm sick of it. Like today, well, I think today's Friday, and I'm like, okay, I got to sit here and deal with this boredom shit another week. I want to get back to work. Okay? Not in a month from now, not next year, not whatever. I should have been able to get another job right after that whole whatever ridiculous debacle over at what is that nightmare place? I keep forgetting. Laverne and Son. Laverne and Son. Okay, that's when I found out this is a target. This is a trafficking ring. I will tell you, just acknowledging that alone disturbed me. It's like this man was trying to rob. You stole from me, Rex Laverne. You stole from me, and I'm the one who's getting my name absolved from the church. You see, the church is crooked. That started this mess anyway by sitting here lying about these clone people, and then it only trickles down to these different people within these congregations with their sick stuff. And I'm sorry to keep going on and on and on and on about it. It's just that I'm ready to go back to work. I'm ready to go back to work. I want my life back. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that, um, okay, someone is working with the authorities still to this very moment. Okay, about this. Now, I don't know if they're going with the FBI. God knows they cannot rely on the BPD. That's the worst place ever. And some people might say, well, that's terrible for you to say. I've already had 2 issues with the BPD. Okay, I called them when I was living over on Elm Street. Some lady, it was like in the middle of the night. Some lady was sitting on my front porch. Okay, so I was like, ooh, that's weird. No, they don't do shit. Okay, I remember there was this old song. I think it was called 911 as a joke. It truly is. It truly is a joke. Okay. Now that my name has been vindicated from the church, maybe that might be different. But see, here's the thing. That means that if my name is vindicated from the church, then the BPD secretly says, screw you to Hindus, screw you to Jews, screw you to everybody else. If you're not a Christian, go screw yourself, is basically what you're saying. Okay. So what I'm saying is this attitude needs to change. Okay, let me tell you something. If you're trying to convert people to your faith system to show that you are a better person, okay, you need to be attentive to everybody. That is something that what Jesus would do. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. He's not going to sit here and sort through all of this stuff. It's like, look, it is what it is. I know that in the Bible, Jesus was known to befriend the people that most people would not. Okay, and like for example, prostitutes. Now, I am not somebody who condones prostitution, okay? But I can tell you the Christian groups often make women or put women in situations where they may have to resort to prostitution, whether they want to or not. Why? Because they oftentimes, promote or allow women to be stuck in abusive relationships. They cut off their ability to find some sort of shelter, right? And a lot of these women are just desperate. So just like this example of the lady that I used to work with when I worked at Edwards Air Force Base. When she tried to get some help from her parents, hey, you're older, you're an adult now, we're not responsible for you. She had very little resources. Okay, so oftentimes she would, try to hook up with a guy, hope that maybe it could become serious. She would try to pretend to be his wife and be attentive to him and stuff. And he was, willing to just throw her out. So there were times where she would hang out at bars and go home with men and stuff like that, which obviously gave her, a reputation. Okay, but let me ask you something. What would you guys do? What do you think you would do? If you knew that if and I will tell you some of these so-called culty type Christian groups, they will make it so that they will harass women. And I talked about some of these women who were victims of this sort of stuff where men would park cars and open the car trunk to let them know, hey, I'm spying on you, I will throw you in the back of this car. They've also made it so where they gang stalk you, just like that dude was rude to me at Walmart. They will do this to people at homeless shelters. So guess what, there's no place for this woman to go. Okay, so obviously Jesus understood that he had compassion for people who were orphans. He had compassion for people who, yes, were prostitutes. He talked to people and he befriended people, not because he was condoning it, it's because these people needed the love more than anyone else. Okay, so before you start judging and start, spreading rumors about people that are going through hardships, and you just think it's so fun to sit here and twist the knife a little bit harder, or you just want to sit here and try to feel better about yourself at somebody else's expense, you need to look in the mirror. Okay, the intuitive message I'm getting is I'm at peace with all religions. Good. Okay. What else? And like I said, I myself am not a prostitute, but I understand that even CB Berganza, like I mapped out some places on some paper, and I was like, okay, where did CB hang out? Because I know when I was Maria Gordon, I would roam across Lancaster all the time. Like I would roam. I'd get in my car and I would go to places in Pear Blossom. I would go to places in Quartz Hill. I would stand around in abandoned buildings and swear up and down I've been there. There was some sort of connection that I had to these places. And the reason why is because, I was there before, right? Now, I just feel like, the energy, I'm attracted to energy. to residual energies. And, you know, I feel as though that's who I am. You know what I mean? And I'm comfortable with that. I know people misunderstood me or whatever. And I'm comfortable with, how people view me. I'm not somebody who is willing to, I can't, you are who you are. You know what I mean? You are who you are. So anyway, I'm glad that people understand that. And I'm glad that people understand my point of view on this issue. I want to get back to work as soon as possible. I do not accept your offer, Alyssa. I find it very offensive. Do not communicate with me again. Okay. I will ask my son though, what he wants to do. The reason why is because, he's paying the bill right now. And I know that we reworked something out with PG&E. However, $1,000 is better than nothing. Okay. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? I'm tired of your bullshit apologies. Okay, your apologies are bullshit because it's like you're not taking full responsibility, and it's not really you. It's okay. Now part two. Okay, yeah, this issue right now is like I'm basically putting up boundaries. Okay, I feel as though it was inappropriate for you to contact me in the first place. Okay, it was inappropriate. Okay, like I said, I do not want to have contact with any of the people that were associated with this. Okay, you need to understand this was a very sensitive issue. Okay, you were basically plotting to kill me. Okay, and you were using my son to get information so that you could do it. Okay, and I'm at least aware of that enough, and I believe in that enough. Okay, so I hope my son does take Terry Collins to court. I hope he does. Okay, something about my son being happy about me. My son's not going to talk to me about this or anything like that, but I'm glad that other religions do support me. And apparently, I do get more support, and I understand that they control what it is I know. Terry did not want me to have any sort of acknowledgement. She wanted to hide me from the world. And I think she felt threatened about this, she knew about the Vladimir Putin thing before I did. See, everybody talks about me and around me, and I'm like, I don't even know. I'm just somebody who's sitting here twiddling my thumbs, ready to go back to work, okay? But for the last few weeks, I would say that Vladimir Putin has been in my third eye. Like when I close my eyes, like Vladimir Putin's face is just there. Like it's just there, okay? So, that's why I'm like, what's going on with Vladimir Putin? And I do know that he found out his past life through my my card readings. Okay, so he does, and I appreciate from what I understand that he understands my comfort zone and my comfort level. Okay, and it's I appreciate that. I do. So anything else I want to say before I wrap it up? I'm glad that my reputation is clean. You know what I mean? And, I understand that the community may be, a somewhat resentful. And see, where the resentment comes from is the fact that they stepped out of line in the first place. Okay? So let's just move on as we move ahead. Let's do so cordially. That means, being polite and respectful. Okay? I don't need to deal with anybody's dramas. I'm not interested in competing. I don't want to see people, competing. I hate it when, I'll do something at work and then, when you're competing, okay? I'm there to work and don't do that, okay? I lose respect for people because it's very triggering after everything that these people have done, okay? It's one thing, I can't take any of it as a joke because the joke is not funny. Okay, when you ruin somebody's credit, when you ruin somebody's reputation, when somebody has been out of a job, when somebody is 54 years old and has no retirement fund, when you sit there and you ruin the fact that I do not have some sort of nest egg for my son, I can do nothing but be afraid of you. Okay, I do know that some people are getting psychic readings on me, and I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to know. Something about me smoking marijuana, yeah, that's nothing new. Okay, I think what people want to know is about me and Vladimir Putin. All I know is that Vladimir Putin is in my third eye. I do know he has something to do with my work. I don't know anything else about it. Okay. And then I do know that there's a lot of people who support this idea of the New World Order. Basically, going about things the way that they're supposed to instead of getting wrapped up in religious drama. Something tells me if people started really unraveling this, a lot of religious people would end up homeless. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that instant death to who could think of harming me or my son, that we are divinely protected. So I will say that a lot of Christian people are basically doing things illegally so that they can have stuff. Okay? That means a lot of people, you know, they got their little professional network. So you fire one little weirdo, and they'll just bring and recruit another person. Okay, so this is a problem. Okay, so what I'm saying is, we know that there's a lot of crooked lawyers. Okay, so if you are a targeted individual, or if you're one of these professions, okay, who've been run out of like your profession, maybe start up a private practice, a startup, a private, and you can call you and identify with New World Order. Like call yourself or identify with being a lawyer supporting the New World Order initiative. Why? Because then people would feel more comfortable about going with you, knowing that they can actually feel like law is really getting enforced, or that they're going to get some sort of real help and assistance, instead of dealing with, well, you need a kingdom spouse and you need other things. If you're a company or a business or something, then you can start working on, you know, following things like employment laws. If you're in a position of hiring people, then you can start doing. And I know it's hard to get a job, like if you are a if you're a targeted individual, okay, because they do, these Christian groups will sit here and try to shadow ban you. They will mess with your social media. You may have to start small. Okay, you might have to either put an ad in the paper or start with your small social circle. There might be people who need legal assistance, and you have already become a lawyer. You just so happen to find yourself, you know, being a targeted individual. Now we can start bringing these targeted individuals, now have an opportunity to say, hey, we are law abiding, we are the true lawyers. Okay, draw these people in saying, yes, you know, I'm here to really help you. Okay, you can have your own private practice. How, I don't know how that works. You don't have to work under a lawyer, a law office. Okay, start smart, start small. Okay, figure this out. I mean, like I said, you know, people who are into certain professions that you got ran out of by these horrible people. Okay, you know that you are better than these people because you are ethical, and people need that. They really do need integrity. These people are lying. Like, you know, I remember some people referring to these people as like the Decepticons or whatever. I would say that's true. Okay, I would say that's true. And they do use words like integrity and stuff like that to try to attract people. But you know what? There are some people, and I know a lot of people are not, is like, you know, hang on. Okay, so that was my son. Anyway, we were talking about, you know, he's going to go pick up some groceries for me. And we and I were talking about the SNAP benefits. And I don't even really watch the news anymore. Like I used to, okay, I've always been somebody who like completely ignores society because I felt as though it was so disgusting to me. I wanted nothing to do with it. And so when I realized I was a targeted individual, I kind of peeked my head out to see what's going on in the world, right? And now in the last 2 weeks, I'm like, I don't even want to know anymore. I'm just like, I don't even want to know. So my son called me. He's like telling me, Maria, my mom, you know, they're going to be bringing the SNAP benefits back, or something about the Supreme Court or whatever. I immediately got upset because it's like, you know, this is a very touchy issue with me, because I feel as though I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. Okay. And maybe it is really truly a government shutdown. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Okay. Maybe it's a hoax. Maybe, and I'm not going to sit here and meditate that deeply, and I'm not going to draw any cards on it, because you know what? I don't want to think about it. Okay, I would really hate to think that some fat bitches are sitting here attacking people in the country just because they have a better way of life. The intuitive message I'm getting is instant death to those who possibly, it could very well be. Who knows? But anyway, my issue is that these little issues, these little hiccups that come on or occur in our country, it's very demoralizing to people. You know why? Because it's not positive. And you know, it's just like I just get irritated with everything that goes on. Okay, and so this is one of the reasons why I feel it's like, you know, maybe I should get into politics. You know what I mean? Who knows? But right now I just need a job. Okay, so anyway, my son owes me money, and I just want to make sure he pays it back, right? Because I'm the kind of person is that he's associated with the Collins, even though, you know, whatever, and I don't want any of these sort of dealings. I'm just done. Okay, so I let my son know in my own way that, yes, I understand the Collins have done some pretty crooked things. And he's like, calm down, mom, because he doesn't want to go into it. I know he doesn't. Okay, but see, I know. Okay, and yes, I hate these people. Okay, and I'm always going to hate these people. Okay, and I'm angry because you know, my mom would have Mary Gordon, the lady who claimed to be my mother, had she, you know, listened to me in the first place, my son would have never had to know Bruce Collins. Okay, so this is what pisses. Okay, Maria, I'm getting mad. Okay, but it pisses me off. Okay, this is what happens when people decide to disrespect other people's statements and their rights. Okay, I was over the age of 18. She should have just listened. think about all the pain that I could have saved me. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that the Bible was written by Masons. It's foolish to live by. No, then I don't think that that's true. I don't think that that's true. There's good things in the Bible. Okay, but I'm saying is, let's just get real here. I know they were using the Bible as an excuse, but I just ran through the Ten Commandments. Okay, think about this. They were using the religion as an excuse, and I just reviewed the Ten Commandments, okay? So we know that was BS. They just wanted to sit here and create problems, and we know that, okay? And this is why it's a very touchy subject with me. I can see through people's bullshit. Okay, so hurry up and fund the SNAP benefits and get on with it already. Matter of fact, I would prefer you go ahead and fund my SNAP benefits, and then so I can get a job, and hopefully I can work a job for or get clients or whatever it is I'm doing, because I never really can tell you for sure what I'm doing because of everything being manipulated. I would prefer never to be on any SNAP benefits, but why was I on it? Because of Terry Collins and her stupidity. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is I am a mystically favored divine being, and that most people do not understand that the Bible was the work of others, and it was under Masonic control. Okay, so she thought in her, I don't know how in her deranged mind she was thinking that she was doing this by some being divinely inspired by God. Did she think that God was telling her that she needed to manipulate my career and harass me in my workplace? Did God tell her to manipulate my benefits? Did God tell her to stop me from going to work? You know what I mean? Or did God tell her I was supposed to put up with her stupid son for the rest of my life? Okay, this get real, Terry. You were jealous. Okay, you were jealous, and you know what? I deserve compensation. You're a stupid bitch. Okay, so if these benefits are getting turned back on, it's probably because she got online and made some sort of negotiation with the people that could actually do so. Okay, it's like I don't want to deal with it. Just get it over with. Okay, I want my benefits. I want my stuff, and just stop creating issues. Stop making it so putting like little kinks and nicks into my daily routine to make me know that you're somehow hovering around me. Because everything that goes wrong with my life, everything, I don't care if the lights turn out in the middle of the night or whatever, something weird happens. Anything that happens, okay, I always attribute it to you because you have consistently done things to me. You have abused me year after year after year after year, every single chance you got. And so everything that happened in my life is a result of everything you did. I wish you to go straight to hell. I can't stand you. Okay? So yes, people do know I deserve compensation. Okay, so anyway, yes, and yes, when it comes to people claiming to follow the Bible, like I said, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit from this group saying that they're doing it. It's bullshit when most people bring it up as an excuse. So people need to start seeing it for what it is. I'm tired of it. Okay. Okay. I do get the intuitive message that President Trump, something about parties with my soul tribe. Do you remember President Trump? I'm a good girl. I'm a very good girl. Okay, so I might, I am fun though. I am fun. Love to dance. Love to sing. Love to entertain. Something about my shadow channel. I hope you guys in the White House are having a good time. Everybody knows I have a very clean reputation. I'm very clean reputation. Okay, I may not be the ideal version of Jesus that you thought of, but I guess I'm the only savior. Okay, so anyway, yeah, people do recognize it that I missed out and lost a lot. Okay, I lost a lot, and now I believe Terry. My son was sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, well, it's because it's nationwide. It's nationwide." It's like, and I'm like, bullshit, And he's like, he knows, it's this thing that he knows and I know, and we don't want to go into it too deeply. He knows that I know, and I know that he knows, but I know it's like, you know what the thing is. From this point on, I do not ever want anybody trying to tell my son or be some sort of messenger or make my son feel that way ever again. This sort of division should never exist within a household. Okay? And what kind of demon brought this negative shit into my house? Terry fucking Collins. That's right. And something about her resenting me from shopping and buying stuff. See, this is a lot of white people can't stand it when black people have stuff. And so they'll do this. Oh yeah, I'm just concerned. Don't act like they're concerned. I'm a little concerned that you sat there and you bought yourself a new couch. Even though I was basically sitting on the floor for 10 consecutive years. You know what I mean? It amuses me when people who sit here and, she used to buy some really expensive paintings. I forgot the name of that painter that was real popular back in the 90s. She would sit here and buy stuff like that. It's really funny when people who sit here and lavish their walls with such expensive art sit here and act like I have too much. Stupid bitch. Okay? Really. Sorry, but the nerve of people. And see, this is why I say, people have the right to be protective of their things. If you have something special and somebody wants to borrow it, you have the right to say no. You have the right to say no. You don't have to explain why. It's just like, no, I'd rather not. You know what I mean? If you feel like that, you want to let somebody borrow something, then let them borrow it. But if they bring it back damaged, they owe it to you to pay it back. Just like, when it comes to like borrowing money, there's a certain ethics to borrowing money, right? That's not going to create tension in another person. This is why, like, when I tell my son, like, I'm giving the example of somebody who borrows like $20 from another person, right? And so they hand you the cash of $20, right? And so this person decides to pay you back through Cash App, right? So now you're short the fee that, of the Cash App transaction. Whose responsibility should be paying the fee? That person who borrowed the money from you should be paying the fee on top of what they already borrowed from you without even having to ask you. Okay, why? Because it makes this person remember, hey, you know what? That time that person borrowed money from me, he paid me right back, and he covered the fee. And so, guess what? That's going to lead to other opportunities. That person's going to be more helpful to you the next time, and your reputation of good paying and being a person who has integrity is going to follow you. See, it can help you in the end by building character. So this is why I'm the way that I am. So I understand people, they resent me and they don't like me for this particular reason. But I will tell you, I'd rather be me than be somebody who's a lowlife who lies and steals from people. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.